You could argue that a vocal recording is a lot like a snowflake in that no two are exactly the same. You've got the tone, the timbre, rasp, things like mouth clicks and noises, the microphone, what room was that microphone in, all of these variables to consider when mixing vocals. Today we're going to launch a 3-part series where first up we're going to look at mixing a vocal that has had no compression to tape. Let's take a listen.
Ready or not, we're out here. The world is burning around us here.
Lots of dynamics. Let's listen to what that final result's going to be like.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning around us here.
Then in part 2, we're going to come down. We've got a vocal in the same song, believe it or not, where we've got a rocked out section, and this vocal was compressed to tape. So we're going to look at how to address that.
We'll go dancing with the sun. I'll be dancing on.
And then in the third part, we're going to take a look at a compressor shootout. We're going to look at mixing a vocal with one compressor, one single compressor, that same vocal with multiple stages of compression, and then we're going to compare it with a all-in-one plugin, maybe the Wave CLA plugin, and see which one do we prefer. 3-part series, links down in the description to the other videos, and I'll put cards above as well. But for this video, we're going to come back and we're going to look at that more natural vocal, so the chill singer-songwriter vocal. And the first thing I'm thinking when I'm looking at vocals is I'm looking at the peaks, the valleys, all the different dynamics, right? And so you can see in this one, if we increase the size of the waveform, you'll see we've got these peaks here, and then we have this drop off. You got some that are much lower than others. Let's take a listen in solo with no processing.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
We're out of here. It's almost inaudible even in solo. And then the same is true for these lines, even though it's not as dramatic.
The world is burning around us here.
I didn't even know what he said there. So our first job is to evaluate, okay, do we want to use clip gain to pull down the peaks? Do we want to use clip gain to lift up the lower lying stuff? If you're not familiar with clip gain, most DAWs are going to have it. When Pro Tools introduced that, I went crazy and started using clip gain for everything. And then what I found myself doing over time is it really does save time, and it's kind of the sound of a modern vocal to have compression, right? And not necessarily a ton of compression or to over compress it or kill it, but I used to use clip gain as my first set of processing to now it's more so on the back end if I need it to then balance out the level that hits the compressor, or even just good old volume automation after having a compressed vocal. But for this song, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first bit of processing, which was to high pass the vocal, get rid of any rumble or anything. This is recording in a home studio. And then the second step is getting rid of that mud, the low mud, mid, low mid. I said mud, but I meant low mids. We're going to clean that up a bit. Now, the thing is, if I hit play on this in solo,
Ready or not, we're out of here.
that doesn't sound very good. You bypass it,
Ready or not, we're out.
there's some of the warmth of the vocal back. However, once we hit it with compression, we're going to bring everything up in level quite a bit. It's going to level it out, the dynamics, and so you're going to get some of that warmth back. So don't be afraid. If you hit this with a little bit, you may be going back and tweaking. There's no set and forget it in mixing. It's almost always going back and forth to other plugins and settings and making it work. But I'm looking to high pass this one to get rid of the low rumble, any microphone bumping, any of that kind of stuff. And then we've got the low mids to clean up between kind of 100 to 600 in varying amounts there. Now we're going to come over and I've got compression. In this case, we've got Slate's VMR and I've used the FG Dynamics. I've got the one knob compressor. I'll link above if you missed that. I did a review of the FG Dynamics and how to set this up as a one knob compressor. I've got slow attack, fast release, and I'm just dialing in to taste how much compression do I want. And in this first compressor, I think we're probably in the 3 to 6 dB range. Let's go find a section where you've got the peaks here.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
So in that phrase right there, ready or not, got around 6 dB of reduction. And then out of here, got almost nothing.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
So we're out of, got around 3, and then here got nothing. So now we've kind of taken this vocal again without the compressor.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
So we got some tone from it as well, but
Ready or not, we're out of here.
just balancing out, but it's still fairly dynamic. We're going to fatten it up a little bit more with this next compressor, which is the FG Stress. And in this case, I'm using it as a parallel compressor. If you look down here, I got the mix knob I mean, we're at 10%. I'll exaggerate that so you can really hear the difference. Let's pull that up. Here's all the way in.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
You can hear that just flatlined the vocal and gave us, a smeared sound. We don't want that. And we got the artifacts and the breaths.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is
You hear the headphone bleed coming through. So if you got an aggressive rock song with lots of drums and guitars, heavy guitars and stuff, you may need to go aggressive like this and just hit it hard. But in this case, we're going to back this off. I had it around 10%. Let's see what around 30 or 40% does.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
To me, that's still too much. I'm hearing the compression artifacts, and I don't want that in this natural, organic singer-songwriter vibe. Let's take it out of solo.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
I tell you what, let's mute this other vocal for now. We'll come back and look at him.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
And then without it.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
Huge difference. Listen to that one more time. Here's with it.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning around us.
And then without it.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
We're out of here. We're losing. We're out of here again. Now, you might say that's a little bit too much. It feels pretty good. It still feels somewhat natural, but now we got it kind of filling out the track a bit, sitting on top of the guitar there. I'm going to pull that back down because I've got a doubled vocal in this. I've got some effects that we're going to get to and look at, and all of those are going to kind of add to that layer of the vocal being a little more smeared. So if I just had one lead vocal, that would be pretty good. But because I know I have these other elements, we're going to back off and we're going to kind of build it like a house. So pull that back to around 10%.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
Way more natural, but we got that tone from the compressor, really digging it. And that's our compression for that track. Next up, you could put this before the compressor. Sometimes I do before, sometimes after, depends. Kush Clariphonic, whatever high-end boost you like. For me, there's nothing like the Kush Clariphonic. This is the ultimate vocal EQ. You pull up the focus, get it in lift. I think the manual even says this is crack for your vocals mid-range. It's very much so true. You got the clarity, that's your air band, kind of like the Moog EQ, the air band on the Moog. And so we're just looking to put some air and take this vocal from this kind of dead, dry, sounding vocal and add some excitement, add some air, some energy, clarity, as the knobs are appropriately named. So let's take a listen before and after our Clariphonic.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
So the dynamics are sitting much better. Now here's the EQ.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning around us. Ready or not, we're out of.
That to me just sounds, it's not polished. It's not ready for release. That doesn't sound exciting. So Kush Clariphonic, moving on from this guy, kind of a quick dive into these. We're hitting it with some de-essing. Because I boosted the upper mid-range and the top end so much, we want to make sure that those S's don't poke out too much. We want to pull them back a little bit, control them. And even there's some serving, because I've got it set from a 4.5K to 15K, it's almost serving as like a multi-band upper mid-range to control anything that jumps out after boosting so much with that Clariphonic. So let's take a listen before and after with this.
Ready or not, we're out of here. Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
Really right there on the is what it's catching. Let's go without it.
The world is burning. The world is burning. The world is burning.
And with it.
The world is burning.
A little softer, so it's pretty gentle the way that it's set right now. This one, I have a vocal phrase further on in the song where, for whatever reason, the way that the singer's rasp and timbre of his voice took over, it had a little bit more of that 3K, 4K, and it was a little harsh. So I automated a quick move to pull that on for the phrase and then get rid of it. So that's a quick look at that. Next up, we'll come back to the effects. I felt like after I got, it's the same processing for this Chill Vocal 1, but this vocal was recorded a little bit further back from the mic, so you get a little more of the room noise. And so I was a little more careful on this. I dipped out a little of the top end so that we pull that. We use the top end from the clarity in Chill Vocal 2. And then all the same processing, same automation for that phrase way out there, except this time I've got Chill 1 chill vocal 2, I called them, and I'm sending those into the intro lead vocals, this little intro section here for the song. And this is where we're going to pick it up. But let's take a listen to where we're at now.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear, and I won't watch you drown in cheer.
So you got some natural slap back happening between them. You got the flamming and you get the chorusing. So pretty cool to have the two together. They are both equal in volume. But like I said, I did pull back a little bit of top end to pull back a little bit. I kind of didn't want this one featured as much because of the room noise in it. Then we got a couple of pro cues. The first one is something I do often. Once I get a vocal shaped and compressed a little bit more, and because these two are meant to kind of be a co-lead vocal sound, I bust them into the same EQ here. And I'm just, again, tightening up the bottom end, making sure that any phrases that may come down the line, maybe they got a little bit closer to the mic, it's going to control the proximity effect right here. Then I've got this mid-range dip. For whatever reason, I wanted to make sure that I got a more even compression. And I think by going in and having these multiple bands, I was able to compress against these different frequency ranges to have a more even vocal rather than just hitting it harder with one compressor. Here I was able to really get detailed with it and to make sure I had an even compressed vocal. And so you have some 3 to 5K that kind of jumps out. And so by having a band here and compressing against it, I'm able to control that peak and make sure that it stays in check without adding another compressor that really is just looking at the overall signal. So multi-band compression, dynamic EQ to tighten this one up.
Ready or not.
And that's the phrase right there. Ready or not.
Ready or not.
So let's listen without this compressor, EQ.
Ready or not, we're out.
So it does get louder when I turn it off. But again, I'm trying to control it and keep it a little more stable throughout the track.
Ready or not. Ready or not, we're
It does exactly that. You can hear it pretty clearly there. When they go up to that upper register, they poke out. But with this dynamic EQ multi-band compressor, you can see it stays a little tighter. Okay, and then next we had, again, a dip there for that section right there, the mid-range, and I put another one. I could have just put it on the last one, but sometimes for visual sake, OCD, I just like to see it in a separate window.
ready or not, we're out of here.
So you can see ready or not, this really engages around 2.5.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
But nothing else is really getting hit by this the threshold set high enough that it only catches those peaks. And again, just to kind of keep them balanced, keep them in check. And that's for that vocal there. Now, it's a pretty big difference to go from this. Let me hit play.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
To this.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
And to get there, those are the effects. So we've got a chorus. We have a widening chorus modulation effect that's going to a little stereo widener kind of thing happening. And then we've got a little bit of a natural room sound. And then at another section of the song, I have an extended reverb tail, get some piano and some pads and stuff that come in. And so I add a little bit to the vocal at that point as well. So let's go through each of these effects. First up is the gentle chorus. This is in my template, and I use this on just about every vocal, a little bit, sometimes a lot of it, just depends on the sound and what we're going for. And in this case, it's just the kilohertz chorus, and this is set to probably like a slowish, so 2 taps, the spread, boom, boom, we got it set to 4 milliseconds. This is based off this concept of using this slow, gentle chorus kind of sound is based off the Waves Mondo Mod gentle chorus preset. I've had it in my template for years. It used to be the Mondo Mod. Very well could be now. I've got it back again and did the Waves update plan and all that. But then also, this could be pick a chorus and just set it to a slower, gentle setting. Love it. It sounds incredible. Let's pull it in and you can hear, I'm going to exaggerate it. And I tell you what, we'll solo this guy, turn all the other effects off.
Ready or not, we're out of.
Let's turn that off too.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear.
Okay, and then now here's with the chorus on.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear.
Okay, and again, I use a little bit, can go a long way. Let's turn it off and then we'll gradually pull it in.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear, and I won't watch you drown.
Just gives it a nice little, I don't know if it's like a silky texture to it, a nice little quality that I like, and I use it on almost every vocal in varying amounts. Next up, we've got the Cooper Dimension. This was inspired by the Cooper Time Cube from UA and the vocal dimension preset on that plugin. And then what I did is I rebuilt it using just the Steven Slate delay. For a time there, I lost my UA stuff. My Octo cards fried and my Apollo died as well, so gotta love that. Good times. But recreating it, these are the settings. It's 5 milliseconds on the left, 20.3 milliseconds on the right. Now with the Dimension, not the Dimension D, the Cooper Time Cube, you get that emulation of the garden hose thing happening, so there's a little bit of a kind of character to it. But I found that this is basically the same effect. I'm going for more of that spreader vibe than I am the garden hose effect. Both work great, and so it's a 5 milliseconds on the left, 20.3 on the right. And this one is meant to take a vocal from being just like a cardioid, dry vocal down the middle to more of a blossoming, hypercardioid type sound, and to get it to sit on top of the track, to just kind of the chest to come out and just kind of sit on top of the track a little bit more. You'll know exactly what I mean when I hit play here. Here's without it.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
Here's with it.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear.
So pretty awesome stuff there. I used it in just a little bit because, again, I had this doubled vocal and I treated them both pretty much the same. And so if I use too much on one, it kind of overdoes it a bit. So to taste, and we're moving on. So now we've got the final plugin on this track is a reverb. And here's what it sounds like in solo without the verb.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear.
And this is a drum room I have in my template. I love this, the Bercasti Studio B close, far, and large wooden room. And in this case, I'm merely using the close, I think, right? Yep, Studio B close. I'm using VSC to get me there. We've got Studio B close, and it's about a 500 millisecond room. And we're going to go from without it.
Ready or not, we're out of here.
To with it.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
Just a little more of an organic sound. It's not like a closet vocal. It's not a canyon or a hall or anything crazy, but just a little space for that vocal to sit in. I wanted it to feel like maybe they were in a studio, a well-treated studio space where they had like an acoustic performance happening. And so a little bit on each of them. And we again went from no processing.
Ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning.
To
ready or not, we're out of here. The world is burning round us, dear, and I won't watch you drown in cheer.
Love it. So nice way to take a singer-songwriter, kind of a chill vocal, not overdo it, but at the same time, give it some love, have some processing in there so that it can kind of shine, sit on top of the track. I hope you guys dig this. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more. We've got part 2 coming. Let me know what you guys want to see. And if you guys are interested, I got the free vocal mixing checklist. It's going to help you see exactly what I'm thinking when I'm mixing a vocal. Got a process for mixing well-recorded vocals, but then, of course, not all of us are dealing with great recordings, and so I'm going to help you take that average and poor vocal recording as well, show you what I do with it. It's like a 17 or 18 page guide, free vocal mixing checklist down in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Part 2 coming your way next.